Wonderful to have you here. We have people from both the public and the private sector on stage, which I'm always very, very grateful for. First of all, on the audience's very left, we have Liina Vahtras, who is the Managing Director for the Estonian e-Residency program. We have Miles Bertrand, who is the CEO of Toom, the market leader in creating modular core banking platforms. And we have Elizabeth Keener, who is the Chief Growth Officer of Nortal, a leading company supporting Fortune 500 companies and digital societies around the world. So the one thing that all three have in common is that they're not quite all EU residents, although two of you are, and of course, then the third person is the actual managing director of the e-Residency program itself. Perhaps we can start with Liina, explain a bit what e-Residency is about, but what I want all three of you to talk about is how your journey to e-Residency and with the e-Residency, how did it occur and how is it going right now?
Yes, so I think my journey started already when the program was initiated, because I was just really envious of the people who came up with the idea. I think it's brilliant. So I could say that my journey started already in 2014 when it was initiated. And not to assume that people know exactly what e-Residency is, the initial idea behind it was to leverage Estonian e-governance and digital services experience and to create a digital identity that would open up Estonian economy. And to put it short, or simply put, it's just we took something that we had built for our own citizens and then exported it globally. What has changed over close to 9 years is that it's not just like a wild idea. We now have hard evidence. There's proof that it actually works. And just to throw you with some numbers, we have over 105,000 e-residents globally who have created 27,000 companies. And the economic impact of those companies is around or over 180 million euros in state revenue.
Which for a small country like Estonia with 1.3 million people is a fair bit of change.
It is, yes. We're very proud of that.
And your personal journey becoming managing director?
Yes, so like I said, I've been a fan of the program for many years, and I've said before, I'm really not that happy that the previous managing director decided to leave, but I'm also happy that he did. So now I think it was at the beginning of the year when they opened up the position. I'm like, great, this is something that I will want to try, and I did. And then Miles and I, we used to work together for a month, and I told him that, listen, I'm leaving because I have this great opportunity.
Long-standing work colleagues. Miles, tell us about your journey to e-Residency. Why? Where are you from? How did it lead you to e-Residency?
Hi, everybody. Great to be here. Originally, I'm from New Zealand, and I've actually had quite a geographically expansive sort of career where I've worked in New Zealand, I've worked in Australia, I've worked in Singapore, I've worked in Dubai, and now I'm in Estonia. I keep going west. People tell me eventually I'll go all the way around the world and get home to New Zealand. But the most interesting thing for me is that I've only been in the role about 3.5 months, and I've got the great pleasure to lead an Estonian founded organization like Toom. But we're going through a whole cycle change where we are going to become and growing quite globally. So you have an international executive like myself who is coming in to work and really help that company grow, but I'm not a resident of Estonia, I'm not based here. So the ability for me to actually go through a program really quickly, then be authorized to do the things I need to do on my day-to-day basis, the ability for me to be a signatory for the company, be able to execute documents, be able to employ people and all the variety of things I need to do, particularly a lot of sort of required under legislation in Estonia. The e-Residency program has been incredibly powerful. And having done this through multiple countries, as I said, it's been actually one of the best experiences. It's really allowed me to sort of hit the ground running without being stuck in the typical problems that you have when you sort of come into a new country and then you have to go through all these processes before you actually get to operate the way you want to. So it's been a huge benefit for me in the first few months that I've been in the role.
I can imagine that running an international business, signing documents across time zones and so on with the different management board members can be quite challenging. I suspect that for Elizabeth, the journey was somewhat comparable. Would that be fair to say?
Absolutely, somewhat similar. So I'll tell you, I've only joined Nortal the end of November of last year. So less than a year I've been with this wonderful Estonian company. And when I joined, I came to Estonia, I came to Tallinn for the first time in December. I visited e-Estonia, learned about the e-Residency program, and I'm scratching my head like, will I ever need this? And it turns out I absolutely do. So the first sign that I knew I needed to become an e-resident was I was trying to get some contracts signed towards the end of the year. Everyone was out on their Christmas holiday, and I'm trying to find our CEO or our COO to sign something because I couldn't sign it. And voila, here comes a very good excuse or use case for e-residency. So earlier this year, I applied, and this application process and becoming an e-resident was quite seamless and easy. And now I have my e-residency and the app on my phone, so I can sign, encrypt, send documents. We ourselves, like Miles, we're going through a pretty significant both geographic growth and growth through acquisition this year. So all of this makes a lot of documents to sign, a lot of mutual NDAs to sign, and things like this. So we'll talk about other perks beyond the signing of documents. I think selfishly and personally speaking, I also, after my kids graduate from high school, quite frankly, think I may want to move here. So if that is the case, then this starts to get you on the stepping stones if you want to take that path to more significant residency.
I mean, even though you're not physically entirely registered and living here, Estonian e-residency has still brought you physically to the summit here today. Yes. Otherwise this wouldn't have happened. So I think that's quite funny. Regarding other use cases beyond signatures, I was wondering to what extent your companies might look at using e-residency not just for having C-level people to sign documents, but also perhaps to do background security checks, because of course the police and border guard will assess any application of any potential e-resident. Is this something that you might be looking into? So this would be the question to the two of you, and of course to Lina at the end. What are the other use cases that you guys see at the e-residency program? What do the users tell you they want more of, or what they really enjoyed beyond just opening a company and just signing documents?
Maybe I'll go first. I mean, our business is, as mentioned by Florian, we're doing next generation core banking, which is really the mission critical system for a bank. So one of the most important things that come to mind is security. And as we go through certain certifications, things like SOC 1, SOC 2, PCI DSS, which are industry standards, part of that is employee background checks. Under those sort of certifications, the ability for you to do a background check, security check on individuals, and as we said earlier, expanding geographically, the ability for us to use a program like e-residency, because a lot of all our people are employed under our entity. That's incredibly powerful for us, because that's something that we have to be, for us to stay accredited and to meet the requirements for our current customers and future customers. That's a perfect example of where we use the tool, and we will be using the tool going forward, because that's a constantly evolving part of our industry in fintech and financial services. Security, background checks are always evolving, and the ability that we've got a tool to use that basically as a check and balance, but also how we support our employees going forward is really important for us.
Elizabeth, you're quite literally the Chief Growth Officer at Nortal. How does e-residency fit for growing Nortal further?
Yeah, so we have seen geographic expansion in the UK and in Mexico so far this year, and we're currently planning our next targets for growth globally. So I think even to what Miles mentioned, we're not in doing core banking and financial services, but I think with organizations large and small, the notion of having a fluid or flexible workforce is one that is increasingly popular right now. So I would echo the use case of background checks and the ability to do that very easily, and with a trusted source being one that is very useful as you're growing anywhere around the world, in fact, and this could be something that any company could take advantage of. I think I was also impressed because back in 2007, I owned and operated a business in New York City, and I remember the grueling process of setting up this S-Corp with 2 business partners, and I ended up with this binder that was like this full of paper, and I went through at the e-Residency Center yesterday the process of pretending to set up my own business. Took 5 minutes or less, depressing. And I was like, wow. Yeah. I wish I had this a few years ago.
Obviously, I'm not an e-resident because I'm physically based in Estonia, but I remember, when in Germany, I would have never thought about creating a company. I just wouldn't have, full stop. And just the availability of that opportunity in Estonia to just, go ahead and do it. If it doesn't do anything, like the company just sits around, fine. But going through that process and just having this possibility at your fingertips, I think is very, very valuable. If we now come to the actual managing director of the program, which use cases do you primarily see beyond what we discussed? How popular are these different use cases within the community, and where is it going?
Yes, well, we usually do concentrate on the entrepreneurs this is our ultimate goal, right? But we do see cases of when startups, especially when they don't have the security background check availability, or it's difficult for them to do it themselves. We see that they ask their employees to either become e-residents, or they ask their business partners to become e-residents, because they're saying that the Estonian police and border guard are doing the background checks for us. So we hear that as well. But like I said, the KPIs, we measure the economic impact, but we also see indirectly, and that's why I'm really happy to be here with Miles and Liz today, because we haven't been showcasing the fact that the program is enabling Estonian startups and also larger corporations to grow. And this and what our e-residents are telling us, this minimum bureaucracy and this hassle-free environment is just something that they value so much, and we don't maybe stress enough. And I hear there's a venture capital fund in Finland, and they're saying constantly that you Estonians, you don't know how lucky you are, just because of that minimum bureaucracy and hassle-free environment. So
and the Finns are pretty digital as well. It's
exactly.
not like we're talking to Germany or something.
Yes, I mean, you said it.
Yes, absolutely. They can quote me on that. Did you want to add something?
I was just going to. I think that's an incredibly important point. And before I joined TOOM, my knowledge and my experience of Estonia as a country was very limited. I'm really honest about that. This is a rough diamond. Like, it's actually the technology that's coming out of this country and the work ethic of the people. It's great. It's a fantastic incubator. Look at the really successful startups that have come out of here and some fantastic brands around the globe. And I think a program like e-Residency is not being utilized as well as it could. One, it can encourage companies to come here and set up and actually leverage that existing framework that's already here to attract talent. I mean, the quality of talent that you can get to come, knowing that it's hassle-free and the flex you talked about. And, I think there's the ability for how do we make more noise? I mean, it's been a game changer for us even now as we're growing. We're looking actually, how do we actually also ship in talent or get talent to work with our well-established Estonian team, because all it's going to do is make our organisation better overall. And a tool or a platform and a capability like e-Residency, we already can see it's going to be a game changer, and we're starting to have really interesting conversations with people. They're very, very attracted to exactly that point. There's no bureaucracy. It's an easy process. And it allows them to interact and work and have that flex. And so, you know, my 2 cents worth is absolutely how do we make more noise about this, because it's a fantastic program.
I'm going to add another sort of fringe use case, if you will. Almost 3 weeks ago, our daughter was born, and as a result, my parents, who are living back in Germany, of course, they're EU citizens, they have the right to reside in Estonia if they so wished. They were thinking about buying an apartment in Estonia to be more frequently closer to our young family. And the reality is that, of course, real estate transfer can be done digitally in 30 minutes in Estonia as well, with the help of a notary, online video call, no problems at all. And the availability for them to say, oh, we can visit an apartment in Estonia, we can take a look at it, and then 2 weeks later, if we've made our decision, we're going to just have a call, we're going to meet up virtually with a notary, we're going to do the real estate transaction in 30 minutes. That's a very big luxury as well. So, and that will, of course, also bring. They will not create a company in Estonia, but they will bring their assets to Estonia to an extent. They will, of course, shop in the local economy as everyone else does. So there's many different use cases that perhaps are not as well charted as they could be. Now, you are parts of or members of the Estonian e-residency community, but as Lina certainly knows, there are other e-residencies available in the world. There's Azerbaijan, there's the Gulf countries that have different programs going on. There's more and more countries that are going slowly but surely in that direction. And so, for me, the main question, perhaps only to Lina right now, would be what unique selling points remain right now? And then to all three of us, all three of you, what should be the next steps to make sure that the Estonian e-residency program stays ahead of the curve?
Yes, very good question. What we see right now is that since no other country really can offer their digital services or the services of government services digitally, and we know that Estonia offers 99% services digitally. So we see that we still have that cutting edge against all other countries creating e-residency. What my team is telling me is that Lithuania is the closest to us, but it's still, they don't have enough pickup points, and you still need to go to Lithuania for sure. To get it, and
you cannot do it at any of the embassies or anything like that. Or?
Don't quote me on this, but
okay.
Yes, I've heard that this is the case. Also, Portugal, they're doing something in regards e-residency. But when we think of our competition, and we think of the great tech hubs, which means Delaware, UK, Ireland, Singapore. This is what we're competing against. It's not just a program, it's a key to Estonian business environment. And this is what we're selling. We're not selling anything, and we're not just selling that program, it's a key to the business environment.
Your thoughts, Miles, Liz?
I guess, I don't know whether I'm fortunate or I'm cursed, but I've lived in Singapore, so I've been through that program. I've lived in Dubai, they have a program as well. And I think you're right, but I would say my experience thus far in Estonia is exactly to Lina's point. I think, yes, they have the programs, but that you don't get the full aspect of the services, that you don't have that 99% coverage of capability. There's still a lot of things that you need to do with the government and a lot of paperwork, etc. I can tell you when I left Singapore and moved from Singapore to Dubai, I had a stack of paper, like literally this high, which was just government stuff. And that was sort of quite challenging from that perspective. So I think the verification process you go through to verify who you are, validate who you are, that's a very solid process. I mean, you would have to say it's very, very, same as getting a passport fundamentally. So they've verified who you are, they know who you are, etc. So I think the ability to allow that program to continue to expand and do more things, and keep ahead of the curve that digitally, that's the key. It really is, because people. I use this term. People like to work now at the speed of life. Okay? Some people like to just are non-stop. Other people are a bit chilled, a bit more relaxed. But I think that knowing that you have this capability that you get to then operate, or the speed that you want to choose, that you're not hindered by something, I think that's the ultimate goal of what you want to do and what you want to be doing with a program like this, is that you're actively encouraging people to utilize it, rather than them saying, sounds good in practice, but in theory, doesn't quite live up to expectations. I can say after 3.5 months, the Estonian program's been fantastic.
So far, so good.
So far, so good. I'll check in 3 months. I've got a direct line to the top.
You've quite literally got her number. So. Elizabeth, I mean, you're still based in the US, as you mentioned. So I guess you are right now experiencing the biggest contrast between the Estonian e-Residency and the local bureaucracy. How is that experience?
Yeah, I try to ignore the local bureaucracy as much as I can and wish every day that the US could be more like Estonia, but hopefully we can make that happen perhaps one state at a time. But I first learned about Estonia and its technology leadership when I was at South by Southwest one year, and I was like, whoa, what's happening here? So I think what makes Estonia inherently unique as it relates to e-residency is the fact that you have more successful unicorn companies per capita coming out of Estonia than anywhere else in the world. So that, coupled with e-residency and this ease of doing business overall, I think should make it a great target for any company or any upcoming CEO who is aspiring to have a global multinational business to say, like, this should be where I plant my footprint, a digital footprint, so to say, because I can expand virtually anywhere from here and use that as a good platform for growth.
I think the curiosity aspect that you mentioned as a sort of way of getting to know the country is also quite relevant. I don't remember the exact statistics. You may have some additional numbers on this, but I remember that the e-residency program from the very start tracked the different reasons of why you're applying for e-residency, and one of the reasons for application was quite literally fan of e-residency. I just want to, try and see how the whole thing works and whether it is relevant for me. I think it's still like in the 12-15% or something like that.
Yes, I don't have the exact numbers for that.
They're public on the website, so
yes,
yeah,
but it's at the first, very many were just sort of like tech heads, right, and journalists who wanted to understand what the program was about. And I guess now we're more targeting on entrepreneurs, and we see that very many who are applying for the e-residency, they already know exactly what they want to do with it. They want to create a company. And in terms of what's next for us, it's product development. It's to shorten the time to market, so to say, so that it would be faster to get the residency card, and maybe in the future, maybe we don't even need a card because we're digital, right? So that's an idea to throw.
I think with the biometrics and everything else involved that the police and border guard would usually record of these applicants, it's going to be a challenge, but certainly a goal to aspire to.
Yes.
It's funny how even the most digital country is still getting caught up with the physical realities. Every now and then, one of the main limiting factors for Estonia for the last few years has been, yes, you can pick up your e-residency card at the embassy. However, there's only just over 30 embassies of Estonia around the world.
I think it's around 40.
40 ban. Okay, yeah. So there's just under 200 countries in the world, so there's still a big canvas to fill.
Yes.
For Estonian embassies.
Yeah, I think
representatives.
Miles and Liz can say that for them the journey wasn't that long. The median is 64 days, but it wasn't that long for them because they were coming to Estonia anyways for business.
Yeah.
So that made it shorter for them, but we want this experience to be similar for all other e-residents as well.
I think the longest part of my process was I can't name the place, but I had to go out there and just take my ticket and wait.
Right.
Wait.
That's a long wait. Sometimes.
But you've recovered from...
Oh, it was fine. It was fine.
Right.
Yeah. But but literally, that was actually the longest part of the process. Yeah. Was actually going out to the police centre and actually doing the final step of the verification and everything. So, but outside of that, it was a smooth process.
Yeah, and I could have picked up my e-residency in New York, in fact, but I had a trip planned anyway to come to Estonia, so I said I might as well just get it here. But very smooth.
As you should. I think the geographical limitation right now is the biggest outstanding factor. I recall that for the longest time there was no embassy in Brazil, and so basically everybody from South America who wanted anything with e-residency had to go to Washington D.C.
New York still.
New York, yeah, sorry, but
nevertheless, it's.
But basically, if I'm an entrepreneur, I'm the brightest young kid in Brazil or Argentina or something, and you're telling me I have to do like a 12-hour flight, it's
Right.
going to be a bit of a hard sell. So to remove that physical component would certainly be one of the next quantum leaps for the Estonian e-residency program. Any final thoughts? Any recommendations on what kind of person should get e-residency if they don't have it yet?
Personally, I think it's you know, I don't know the stats. I'm sure you do, but I think it's the type of thing that's attractive for everybody. You know, I don't think the limitations, the type of, whether it be for talent, whether it be your parents, and congratulations and commiserations at the same time on having a child in 3 weeks, but it's always good. But I mean, I think I'll go back to what I said earlier. I think just the opportunity that exists, the foundational building blocks that you have here in Estonia, the ability to now build upon that is absolutely fantastic. I mean, my experience in the first 3 months has really actively encouraged me to come and live here. But I've been here in the nice part of the year. I haven't had a winter in Estonia yet.
Just you wait.
So come talk to me in 12 months' time and see if I still feel the same way. But yeah, I really do believe that it's a powerful tool to just really help drive the fantastic building blocks that this country has, and the ability to continue to grow.
Wonderful. Lina, last message?
We're still, last message is that people should take it on, take this journey on, and we're also happy about those who are not creating companies.
Wonderful. Well, you've heard it here first. Thank you so much to our dear panelists. Please give them a hand of applause. Thank you.